So here's a little bit of my philosophy of philanthropy. But first, I got a question. They talked about foreign aid in the hands. Does anybody know what foreign aid is? Foreign aid is money from poor people in rich countries that is sent to rich people in poor countries. Very little of the foreign aid money that goes over there, I'm convinced, ever ends up for the person that it's designated for. Because there's a lot of corruption and everybody siphons it off. And in a word, foreign aid simply does not work. At best, you create a welfare state. If anybody can name a welfare state or a society that's ever worked, I'd be happy to hear about it. And I believe there's a right way to help. Mark and Jill call it give opportunity. You also heard the word social entrepreneurship. Venture philanthropy was another term I heard today. And my favorite one is a simple hand up, not a handout. So in my 4 metaphors, metaphor number 1 is provide a shovel, but don't dig the hole. Or at least give them the means to buy the shovel. They have to do the heavy lifting here. They have to have some skin in the game. It's important that this be an investment, not a donation, and that they understand that. When I paid for Tonka's education, I didn't think this was a donation, a charity to help Tonka. This was an investment in a young man that can change his community and maybe his country and maybe the world. The investment, the return I expected was not monetary. The investment, the return I expected was the good it's doing the world, to make the world a better place, some of my beliefs I talked about earlier. There's got to be local ownership of the project. Nobody wants to be managed from afar. And sweat equity's got to be required. Again, they do the heavy lifting. Raising the money compared to building that first school was absolutely the easiest part of that school, I'm convinced. Because one of the truths I think that's important to recognize is that you nurture what you create. If we create it here and give it to them, it's not nurtured. If they create it, they will nurture it. Metaphor number 2 is to get the ball rolling, but don't keep pushing it. What philanthropy to me is an infusion of resources. It's not a permanent entitlement, and it's not a dependency. And I thought it was very interesting when Mark was talking about the women in La Isla saying, don't give me anything, that, you know, because it doesn't work. And I firmly agree with that. And yet, over and over, so many philanthropic charitable organizations keep giving. Again, operations must be local. At our schools, they're all run by local school boards that decide who the teachers are and what the curriculum is, in association with the Ministry of Education. Operational hows are local decisions. I may know a great way to do it in Dallas, Texas. It may not work in Kari, Nepal. Kari, Nepal may know how to do something really well there that's not going to work in Lima, Peru. They need to make those decisions. And I think it's important as the philanthropist to communicate this early and often, to know there's not going to be a continual stream of money coming forward. We got to make this capital. We got to use this capital to create whatever it is we're trying to create. In my case, a school. Because another truth is not only do you nurture what you create, but you protect what you nurture. My metaphor number 3. As a philanthropist or as running this, I believe it's important that you check the check. And this all speaks to accountability. This all speaks to, as Ronald Reagan used to say, trust but verify. And it starts before the project even begins, with budgets and due diligence. I knew the costs were correct on the budgets that Tonka's been sending to me because I checked them out. And it's really not too hard to do once you get started with network, with other NGOs, with the internet, the glories of the internet. Continues throughout the project. Tonka would send me budget reports and have to explain all the variances. And he knew that next dime wasn't coming until he had explained those variances. We had a flood south of Kathmandu, way far away from ours, in the middle of a Devastan project, and all of a sudden, what happened? Our raw materials go up, because there's a huge demand for cement and rebar. So that was actually a difference we ended up having to make up. And this continues after the project, because this is not a set and forget thing, because I'm going to nurture and protect what I've created. Because another reality I would like to point out is that relationships grow when things check out. If you think about that, with either personal relationships or business relationships. Metaphor number 4 is to nurture the hand that feeds you. And by that, I mean our accountability and responsibility to donors. What we pledge is to send every dollar. Terry and I pay all the administrative and fundraising costs available for this. Every dollar we've received has gone over to Nepal. to spend every dollar wisely. There's no gold-plated doorknobs on the schools. These schools are put together as most efficiently as possible. To communicate regularly with the donors through emails, through websites, to make sure they know what's going on, to keep them in touch and excited about the project, and our responsibility to check the check, because we are nurturing what we have created. There's a great quote and a mantra that, of the global community for education. Never doubt that a small group of committed citizens can change the world, because indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. And that's by Margaret Mead, and I think that's where our two schools came about. So when I look at these smiling faces looking back at me, I see that these are not minds squandered. These are people that are so excited to get an education. None of these kids bellyache that they have to go to school. They all want to go to school. And I think, you know, one of my theories in life is maybe the smartest guy in the world, the most intelligent guy in the world is shining shoes right now in Kathmandu, or he's cleaning a kitchen in Lima, Peru, or she's farming in Cambodia or Sudan. Without these kids' lives are so different, and the community so different, because they've gotten a chance to learn and they want to learn. And it's just been a great feeling to be involved. So thank you very much for your attention. I appreciate it, and namaste.